everyone, and welcome to First Things First. I'm Jenna Wolfe. That's the Hall of Famer Cris Carter. This right here is Nick Wright. We've got ourselves a schedule grid.
Look what I got.
Coach Where's Mancini? Eric Mancini when you need him?
256 NFL games we've played this regular season. They are all gridded out right here. That means it is officially football season. Yep. I feel great.
Good stuff.
This is exciting.
This year, get more than 6 games right, okay?
Oh, you know what? Let's check the
I'm going to make a list
week.
before the season starts of Nick's worst picks.
Oh, let's keep a prediction book. Dusty, get on it. Prediction book.
Go, Jenna.
We got a great show for you today. It is raining all day here in New York, but we have a sunny 3 hours for you. OBJ says he felt disrespected by the Giants. Lev Bell has some interesting words for his critics, and Ezekiel Elliott knows as much about his holdout as you do at home. That is where we start today with the Dallas Cowboys. Look, if they get everyone paid, yeah, they're very well in the running for Super Bowl contenders this season. But with training camp just a week away, there are still questions looming, namely, will Zeke be there? According to reports, he doesn't actually know yet. The fourth-year running back with 2 years left on his deal has yet to decide if he will hold out. Cris Carter, how important is it for the Cowboys to get this deal done before the season starts?
Well, this important? I mean, he's got 2 years left on his contract. If the discussions have led Zeke to believing that he was going to get a new contract, then it becomes more of a priority. Then it becomes more important. But Dallas does not have to sign Zeke to a contract extension. So in Zeke's world, it's very important. In Dallas's world, because Dak doesn't have a contract, Amari doesn't have a contract, I would say it's not the most important thing to them. So Zeke has the ability to be able to hold out, and that's what will make it a priority. Now, going into there's other things that have to be worked out. It's not a matter of who's the best player. He's got 2 years left. Dak's the quarterback. It can't afford for him to get hurt. So he would be a priority, even though he's not as important to me as far as what Dallas is going to do as Ezekiel Elliott and what he provides for that offense.
I don't think Cowboy fans or football fans in general terms actually really care if Zeke is paid or not, how much Zeke is paid. What they care about is he going to miss games? Is he going to be out there? And if Zeke is going to follow through with these rumored threats that he would potentially not show up if he does not get a new contract, then him getting a new contract all of a sudden skyrockets to the top of the Cowboys' priority list. Because we've heard no rumblings that Amari Cooper is thinking of sitting out. And if he were to, while it would be damaging for the Cowboys, it wouldn't be missing Zeke. We, of course, have heard no rumblings that Dak is considering sitting out if he doesn't get a new deal. I can't remember the last time a quarterback sat out and missed time in a contract dispute. You had Carson Palmer sit out because he didn't want to be somewhere, but that wasn't about money. That was about location. So if Zeke if he's not bluffing, if it's a real threat, it becomes the most pressing issue for the Dallas Cowboys, because pick any number you want. Like, they're 16-3 when he goes for 100 yards and 16-13 when he doesn't. If you want to do rushing and receiving, 22-7 when he goes for 100 all-purpose, 10-9 when he doesn't. What those numbers mean is the Cowboys without Zeke, or without Zeke playing like Zeke, are a 500 football team. When Zeke plays the way we know he can, they are one of the most dynamic teams in the league. He is that much of a difference maker. And in what I consider to be an incredibly critical year for the Cowboys, you can't afford to have him missing any time, whether it be 1, 2, or 3 games start the season.
So, Cris, who's got the leverage here? Is it the Cowboys because they know the off-the-field incidents that Zeke has been involved in and they can maybe hold that over him? Or is it Ezekiel Elliott? Because, like Nick said, he's basically the focal point of that entire offense.
Right. I would say that a player being a first-round pick, because he was compensated, he was a top-5 pick, so he was already compensated going in. I would say a player that's a lower draft pick or a free agent and they have success, I think that they have more leverage, because Zeke can't cry poor. He can't cry, you know something? I've never gotten paid. I'm going to hold out to make sure that I have insurance policy. Well, you got paid the first time around. So this is a very difficult situation for Dallas to be able to finesse through, because Jerry Jones, and how I've known Jerry through the last 30 years, Jerry star players are going to get paid. But in the last couple years, you see Stephen Jones taking over more of that role, making more of the sound bites, comments about players' contracts. And he's a little less emotional than Jerry. He's not as close to the players as Jerry and starts to bring a little common sense around the Cowboys. And I like that Jerry has this buffer with his son, because I believe ultimately it will help them as far as getting these deals done, Nick.
But this era of Cowboys football, if we're being honest, it ended. We didn't know it, but the previous era ended when Tony Romo got hurt before the 2016 season, and this era began with the 2016 draft, with drafting Dak and Zeke. And let's just think about how these years have gone. Year one went as perfectly as one could imagine. Dak was 10 times better than anyone realistically expected as a fourth-round rookie.
I would have to disagree with you a little bit on that one.
Which one?
Because remember I told you, you said that first year.
Oh, up until the regular season. I'll get to the playoff part of it.
Because you said that first year went as good as possible.
As anyone could have imagined until there's about 30 seconds left in that playoff game. Like the Cowboys year one, you have Dak, who no one had any expectations for, fourth-round pick. Zeke, who people had enormous expectations for. Zeke met him. Dak far exceeded him. They have the best record in the NFC. They have the 1 seed. They execute a 15-point fourth-quarter comeback and tie that game twice and then lose at the gun on a field goal. So it was so many good feelings. So many things went well. And, Chris, you said at the time, man, I wonder if this will be the closest this team gets. You have all these guys playing at this level, healthy, cheap. You had home field go through Dallas. Couldn't make it happen. Year two, Zeke's suspended. First game of that suspension. They get blown out by Atlanta. That one game was the difference between Atlanta making the playoffs and Dallas making the playoffs. Year three, first half of the season, you don't have wide receivers. We talked all offseason about how the Cowboys are going to replace Witten and Dez. What are they going to do? Who's going to help out Dak? They didn't have an answer for the first half of the year, which negated the fact that once they got an answer there, they won 8 of 9 down the stretch. But they had already dug themselves too deep of a hole to make a real – they would have had to go on the road repeatedly in the playoffs. Weren't able to do it. Now you're in year 4. Like, after this, everyone gets paid. After this, the team becomes expensive. After this isn't the young, up-and-coming team it was. So that's where Zeke has leverage, in my opinion. The Cowboys know how critical this year is organizationally, and that you can't squander year one because of a bad first half against Green Bay. Year two because of suspension. Year three because you don't have your wide receiver core. Year four because Zeke is holding out. That's where Zeke's leverage comes into play.
So just give us a taste. If Zeke is showing up and he's playing, and you've got Dak and you got Amari Cooper, the team as currently constructed, how good could they be if everyone is there? For Dallas fans that are thirsty for this to be the year after we went through all those years.
Right. There's a number of things that I have to see. There's a number of holes in their offense. How will they threaten the defense down the field? They're a lot faster with Randall Cobb being in the slot. So their down-the-field passing game, I believe, will be much improved. They have to improve their red zone. Nick has talked about that an awful lot. And from a defensive standpoint, how good are they going to be as far as a pass rush? I mean, they're missing a lot of guys from last year, and the guys they have replacement, how good are they going to be? They should be in the playoffs. I'm not going to get into Super Bowl aspirations because they got too many pieces that you don't know about. So anyone that thinks that Dallas is a Super Bowl favorite right now, they are guessing at best at the end of July to think what this team is going to look like. But they have to continue to improve. Dak's got to improve as far as the passing game for them to be one of the elite teams in the league.
All right, let's take a break. We'll talk much more about this coming up. But on the other side, oh, Le'Veon Bell. Lev Bell calling out his critics loudly. That's next on FS1. You can always check us out on the Fox Sports channel. It's on Sirius XM, and we will be right back. We will get to El Bell in just a second, but first, a couple of highlights from last night. Twins and Yankees. Luis Arraez tagging third base on the grounder from Edwin and Carcione, then fires to second to start the 5-4-3.
Oh, a little triple play? Mm-hmm. Oh, that's as good as it gets now. And the hitter's got to...
Yeah, the runner on second got to take out the guy.
Cleveland,
you can't allow him to make that throw.
Toronto, Jason Kipnis with an incredible leaping catch. This is to end the game.
Oh, little snow cone, too.
Oh, yeah, that was a web gem right there. Really nice. Great timing. No false steps, Nick.
No false steps.
Off on the crack of the bat.
Goes and gets it.
All right, the Drew League now. UCLA ruined Sharif O'Neal. That one with the nasty reverse dunk.
Shaq's son?
Yeah, that's the one.
Man,
This is a great story.
absolutely. Dealing with a serious medical issue.
Yes.
Coming through on the other side. Gonna be a star.
All right, let's talk some Le'Veon Bell now. He's had quite a busy stretch away from football. He skipped the entire 2018 season and some of the Jets' voluntary team activities this summer. And the bulk of his social media videos this summer included jet skiing, music recording, and basketball. Well, that has left many fans questioning his devotion to the one thing they haven't seen him do on the gram, football. Lev Bell took major exception to this. Take a listen.
Hey, real bro, I'm tired of social media. I'm tired of everybody telling me, you're not focused. You only want to make music. He want to play basketball. He do everything besides play football. And let me tell y'all something. Let me tell y'all something. Everybody talking, man. I know y'all got a favorite person, a favorite athlete, your mom, your dad, whoever y'all do. So if somebody work at Target, do you think when they work from day 9 to 5, they go home and all they doing is worry about putting on the shelves? They trying to worry about what serial numbers coming up? No. You think Bron just waking up? Oh, he ain't having no Taco Tuesdays. Bron don't have Taco Tuesdays. Y'all think he's just hooping all day? Y'all think Beyonce waking up singing all day? She don't go to work. She don't act. She do nothing else taking her kids. Y'all think she's waking up singing? So y'all think it's legitimate for me to just, oh yeah, I ain't supposed to be in this airport on the escalator. I'm supposed to be running up the steps, working out, getting up these damn steps, That's crazy. So guess what I'm gonna do for y'all? I'm gonna give y'all this one time. Run down these damn steps. Look, running down the escalator. That's what I like. This is what y'all want him to do too. This is what I got to do too. He a normal civilian running down the escalator. I'm guessing that's what I got to do. The normal civilian, y'all just running, working out, not eating, not doing, just working out all day.
I got to tell you, as someone who covered New York sports for 13 years, I'm worried about him with the New York media. If he's already having that reaction to just social media, it's going to be tough here in New York. See, what was your reaction to everything you just heard, that little tirade?
I wish I had the time back, but it's just a waste of time. Like, I don't know why, as one of the best running backs, that you would care what people are saying as far as they don't know what they're talking about. Like, you're an expert in one field, all right? That's why the Jets are paying you that amount of money. I don't see why you would be upset, but I'm a lot different. I just don't understand people's opinion, especially people that don't mean anything in the real world. And that's what on Twitter, what does Twitter really mean? Oh, Cris Carter, oh, really? Oh, am I? So I don't get it. I don't get it when you're that type of good at playing the game of football. I don't expect him to be like the normal players, to have a bunch of just football videos out there. He should have other things that he's involved in. Now, as far as him getting back into shape, because people question what was his overall weight when he's holding out there with the Pittsburgh Steelers, yes, I can understand why people would have questions about that, but he is a great football player, and I said this when he signed with the Jets. Let's not forget how good he was playing. He's gotten a lot of criticism. You can talk about his rap career, believe if he can rap or not and everything. To me, that's trivial. He is a great football player. The Jets are getting a great football player. And if they're going to make it to the playoffs and be able to knock New England off the perch there in the AFC East, he's going to have a lot to do with it. So, to me, I don't care what kind of videos he posts, but I do have one thing. You're not LeBron. And you're definitely not Beyonce. I would have grabbed a few other comparisons.
Well, he went to two extremes. He was like the guy that works at Target or two of the most famous people in the entire world. Right. He's somewhere in the middle. Before I give my opinion on this, while you were talking, something occurred to me. For guys, when football players get out of shape in the offseason, and this is not Le'Veon Bell, but it brings to the point, it annoys you unlike almost anything else. Because what is your job and your schedule in the offseason? You got to wake up whenever, right? And then what do you got to do?
Work out.
For how long?
However long, probably 3 hours would be the maximum. Lifting, running, everything. If you're trying to do some other sports-specific, 3 hours would be the maximum, and you're not doing that more than 5 days.
So the reason I bring that up is if you are doing everything and you are a workout warrior, you would say you need to be doing the offseason. That leaves you about 13 hours of your day to do other things.
You would be shocked at the amount of time professional athletes have.
Right.
If you don't happen to have a family, he's not married. If you don't happen to have any kids, you would be shocked at the amount of time they have on their hands to be able to do whatever they
Right, which is why when guys don't work out or get out of shape, it annoys you so much because it's like, what do you got to do? You got to work out 2 to 3 hours a day, and the rest of the day is yours. And Le'Veon's going to live his life on social media, as a lot of young people do, and so he's going to document it. But this is the thing that and I feel like an old man saying this, and I'm not, but man, stop reading your mentions.
No.
I went to his Instagram. I know exactly what happened because I went to the Instagram from the post before this. And he was posted, there was a video of him. It looked like he was on a movie set. And you scrolled, and I scrolled through the comments because I tried to figure out what set him off. He's walking through the airport on his phone, reading his comments, and someone was like, why are you shooting movies? Shouldn't you be working out? He's like, God, dog it, this random Steeler fan 78, I'm going to show you. And so he records this video. Man, you do not have to care what these people say. I have a little bit of fame and notoriety, and the level of vitriol in my mentions is off the charts. If you're legitimately famous like Le'Veon Bell, it's one of the reasons I think you stay off it. You've been legitimately famous for 35 years. Man, if you can't be worried about what these strangers say, I know it's hard, but you put yourself out. You can't put yourself out there and then react. And then you're not a puppet on a string. You are giving these people what they want.
Nick, this is the way it is now with society, in sports. This is what the conversations we had all season long with Kevin Durant, because he's too worried. This is the bulk of what that article was with OBJ, which we will talk about. They are so concerned with what everyone else thinks. I don't know if it's a level of insecurity that you don't have, Chris, or that athletes back then didn't have, or that you don't have, but you're both in the minority.
But you don't have to be.
You don't have to, but it is so hard. I think you take for granted the fact that you're so good and not being fazed by what people write about you. It is hard for a lot of people to know that there's stuff written about them.
Yeah, it's hard if you don't have no confidence in yourself.
Well, then 3 of the best athletes that we're talking about don't have confidence in themselves.
No. Kevin Durant, it's totally different. You're not right about that, all right? These are 3 separate issues. L. Bell went off. This is the first time that he's gone off like that. So trying to put him in the Kevin Durant category with the burner accounts and everything, Kevin Durant, he was basically fighting back about his decision. It's not about him playing basketball. Are you good or not? People were...
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I mean, that's what it was about. That's what Kevin Durant's not saying, oh, people didn't say I can't play basketball. OBJ is typically trying to defend a certain thing because he takes Instagram everywhere he goes. So these are all separate. This is what I'm not going to do. Because I played in an era, I'm not going to be as if I don't understand. I do understand. People did criticize me. I was kicked out of the league. I was suspended. I was kicked out of college. I have had people say the most awful things to me. So it's not as if I'm removed by age. No, it's that I have decided. When I leave this building, I'll go down the street. People will yell at me, oh, you're the greatest receiver ever. You know something? I know they're not telling the truth. So just like when they give me a compliment, I don't accept it. When people say negative things, I don't accept it. You know the reason why? Because I know me, all right? And that's beyond age. That's beyond social media. I know myself. I made myself into something, all right? These people on Twitter, they're trying to accomplish things in life. L. Bell has accomplished things. Kevin Durant has accomplished things. OBJ has accomplished things. So why would you get into an argument with a fool over something that you're an expert at?
And you mentioned 3 athletes that we know. L. Bell, I would say this is the first time, but Odell and Kevin Durant definitely have engaged multiple times. But there's also, I mean, who are the 2 people he mentioned? LeBron don't clap back at people. Beyonce doesn't. And I would say the majority of people don't, because the majority, I believe, of professional athletes understand that, like with any job, there are pros and cons. There are an enormous amount of perks to being a pro athlete. Like, I would argue, not the same perks, but there are a lot of perks to this type of job. One of the cons is you are much more likely to have a stranger tell you you suck than the guy who's selling you a car or works at Home Depot or is an investment banker. Like, no matter there are pros and cons of all of it. It is naive to think you can be in America in 2019 or in 1999 or any era, really, it's just a different medium, famous, and not have people try to pull you back. And if you are not, my advice would simply be, if you do not have the ability, because I didn't have it for some time, if you do not have the ability to ignore it, then put yourself out there less. Yeah, you can't stop the guys shouting at you at the street, but you can decide to not post on the internet. You can decide to not have a running diary of your life. But if you're going to do, you're setting yourself up to failure if you're going to document everything you say and then expect to have 100% approval rating. Jenna, you post the nicest, most either innocuous or lovable things on Instagram. And I would imagine you still have people.
Of course.
Of course. And if that kills you, then I would say stop doing it. Because there's too many people out there and too many people jealous of Le'Veon Bell or jealous of people that are doing what they want to do for a living. And I'm not trying to sound above it, but that is where it comes from.
All right, let's take a break, please. Coming up, why did Odell consider walking away from
get
football?
my mentions. I got something for you.
Next time, First Things
I got something for you.
Hey, this is Nick Wright from First Things First, and you have to check out this website, pristine.com. Pristine Auction has daily auctions with $1 starting bids. Authenticity is important to Pristine Auction. Pristine Auction guarantees authenticity, and it comes with authentication from the most trusted sources. Pristine Auctions are affordable. Most people don't think they can afford this stuff, but it's much more affordable than you think. A Dick Butkus signed Bears jersey sold for just $56, and a Mike Tyson autographed boxing glove sold for under $100. It's quick and free to register. Bidding is free, and you only pay if you win. Use registration code FTF when joining pristine.com, and new users will receive a $5 auction credit. Again, you'll get a $5 auction credit when using registration code FTF to sign up for pristine.com. That's pristine.com.
We got a great heavyweight battle for you coming up on August 3rd as Adam Kovnatsky takes on Cris Arreola Saturday, August 3rd on Fox and the Fox Sports app. Now time for Going Viral, sponsored by Best Western Hotels and Resorts. Joel Embiid averaged career highs in points, rebounds, and assists this season, which means he has spent the offseason relaxing. And if you know the Sixers big man, that means mixing up his favorite beverage.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the Joel Embiid Short Temper Making Show. And on this week's episode, we're gonna be making short tempers. Don't be surprised. First step, put some grenadine over the ice. I like it extra sweet, so gonna be pouring a lot of it. Maybe everything. And then the second step, we're gonna be pouring in some Mountain Dew ice. Should be good, should be good. And then, of course, the cherries. Can't forget about the cherry. So good.
That would set my no sugar month of July back.
I mean, that would
about 4 years.
Yeah, I was about to say that's more sugar than you'll have in 2 years.
That used to be my drink of choice after I stopped drinking alcohol, Shirley Temple, until the last about a year. Then my wife was like, listen, it's got too much sugar in it. But I'm a Shirley Temple expert. You can't use the Mountain Dew. Too much caffeine
7
in there.
Up?
Going to give you too much charge. No, ginger ale. If you're going to make a real Shirley Temple,
okay.
It's got to be ginger ale. And you pour the grenadine last.
Or else it sinks to the bottom.
Yeah, then that's the best way to do it.
And that was, I mean, that was too much grenadine, right? It's like 2 parts ginger ale for 1 part grenadine.
Yeah, but you got to do a production though, so you got to ham it up a little bit.
As far as Mountain Dew goes, I know Skip's a big fan of the Diet Mountain Dew. Mountain Dew Code Red is a top 5 all-time soft drink. I don't drink it anymore.
Oh,
but I used to
Mountain
drink
Dew is basically
Mountain Dew Code
toxic.
Red. Mountain Dew Code Red is an all-time top 5 soft drink. I will debate anyone. I have a list of that as well.
Here we go, Jenna. Have you ever drank a Mountain Dew?
Mountain Dew, no, but
okay,
my
so
top
How do you know? Then how do you know?
Because I read a ton. It's got the
read
most
a lot of Mountain
caffeine
Dew
and
literature.
it's got tons of sugar.
You read a lot of Mountain Dew literature.
Diet Black Cherry is the best.
I read.
Mountain Dew Digest.
Okay, we're off to a great start on today's show so far. Stories to start your morning. It looks like there will be a Duncan Pop reunion this season. The Spurs announced Tim Duncan will serve as an assistant coach under Greg Popovich. Duncan played for the Spurs for 19 seasons. He won 5 titles, the two. Nick, you like this move?
I love it, and I love Pop's quote on this even more, which is an all-time great sports quote. It's only fitting that after I served loyally for 19 years as Tim Duncan's assistant, that he returned the favor. I don't know if Duncan's going to wear a suit to every game. I don't know that I can remember 5 times in Tim Duncan's life I've seen him in a suit, but you almost never see players of his caliber all of a sudden becoming assistant coaches in this league. I think it's awesome for the Spurs. I think it's awesome for Pop and for Timmy.
I love to see former players coaching, the wealth of knowledge he has about the game, on and off the court, what he could do for younger players. And Pop, man, Pop hires some assistants. Hired Becky Hammond a couple years ago, first one to be able to do that, now brings Duncan back. To me, I'm not really surprised by this. Look at his nickname. The Big Fundamental. Yeah. Who wouldn't want a coach named the Big Fundamental?
Should be awesome. Really excited for that.
All right, back to the NFL now. Some tough news for Melvin Gordon as he looks for a new deal. Reports that he and the Chargers are far apart on an extension. See, you think they get a deal done soon?
Nope. The Chargers ain't in love with Melvin Gordon. Not as much as Melvin Gordon thinks they love him. They don't. The Chargers have other priorities. This is a risky call here when you decide, hey, I'm going to hold out, because the Chargers, for a number of years, it's not the first time they've done this, they're not easy to get that coin from. So good luck, Melvin Gordon.
And Chargers, tough to negotiate right when they draft you. First-round picks. How many year
Your
after
guarantees,
year?
everything.
I mean, even a guy as good
the
as
offsets in the contract.
Right, Joey Bosa had to fight him about that. I don't think this is an organization or an ownership family that's eager to pay this position or really any position early. And because of funny things in the CBA, Melvin Gordon could cost himself an enormous amount of money, even if he shows up for the regular season, just by missing training camp and those preseason games.
Go to training camp, man. Just don't play.
I wonder if he ends up blinking on this one. Financially, it might be in his best interest, because I don't think he's going to win this battle of wills.
All right, to the Cowboys now. Ezekiel Elliott reportedly has not firmly decided whether or not he'll hold out. Camp begins Friday, and the Cowboys have a lot of people to pay. Nick, what would a Zeke holdout mean for quarterback Dak Prescott?
I guess it would be an opportunity for Dak to prove a lot of people wrong, but that a Zeke holdout would be bad news for the Cowboys. The Cowboys, I have my trusty schedule grid right here. They opened their season with 3 very winnable games. Home for the Giants, at Washington, home for Miami. A fully healthy Cowboys team will be favored in all those games, in good position to go 3-0. Without Zeke, it's much more questionable. So, yeah, wouldn't be good for Dak, wouldn't be good for the team.
Last year, Jenna, when the Cowboys won time in possession, people won't give Zeke credit, but those who know football know Zeke is responsible for that. When they win time in possession, they were 8-0. When their defense stays off the field and plays shorter than 30 minutes, they're quicker, they're more explosive, can get to the quarterback, make more plays on the football. So, man, Zeke, this is going to be a tough one now. This is going to be a tough one. I don't believe that Zeke is going to go to training camp.
Wow. All right, finally, some bad news for an already
That's what I got to do.
Depleted Patriots receiving core. Julian Edelman will reportedly miss multiple weeks of training camp with a thumb injury. Cris, what would the Patriots receiving core look like without Gronk and now without Julian Edelman for a while?
I don't even know. Like, I'm like serious. Like, I got the most amount of faith in sports. I appropriate that to Bill Belichick. Like no other coach, like no other organization. But I don't know what they're going to do. Like, I don't know what they're going to do week number 1, because they can't afford, with Gronk's retirement, Edelman, their primary slot receiver, they don't have a deep threat down the field. They don't have a guy that's a proven commodity to be able to throw the ball to 5 to 8 times a game. Man, look, listen, this is going to be a running game, a dink and dunk. Like, that's all they can do. They got to protect Tom Brady. Does he turn 40 what?
42 this year.
Oh, my goodness. They got to protect him. And when Gronk being gone, Edelman, his favorite target, I don't know what they're going to do. But this would be some of the best work that the Patriots, Josh McDaniel, have ever done if they pull this skilled group together.
1 year ago today, if we were talking about the Patriots receiving core, we would have been saying, man, this is one of the least talented groups Brady's had in the last decade, and that was with Gronk still on the team, and with Edelman, he was facing a 4-game suspension, but with Edelman, we knew he was coming back into the fold. Right now, without Julian Edelman, they have N'Keal Harry, who's their first-round pick, but we know how difficult it is for receivers.
Yeah, he's going to be a possession receiver from Arizona State, not a speed guy, all right? He's going to be a guy not getting a whole bunch of separation. A big body, typically bigger than what they've had there in New England for a long time.
And anyone that drafts a receiver in the first round drafts them for what they will be, not what they are their rookie year. There are very few Anquan Boldens in this league that come in their rookie year. They're instantly really good. There's Philip Dorsett, who once upon a time was a first-round pick and made, I think, 2 significant plays that come to mind for me last year for the Patriots down the field. But
I coached him from the time he was 14 to the time he was 18 at St. Thomas Aquinas. He went on the University of Miami, has not lived up to that first-round billing there with the Colts. And he is a number 4.
Yeah.
He's not even a number 3.
And he's kind of a special teamer to a degree. And then you go down Demaryius Thomas, they picked him up. He's on the PUP list to start camp. Sony Michel, who'd be a big part of that running game, he's on the PUP list to start camp as a guy who's always seemed to have some type of lingering knee issue. We don't know if that's going to elongate. And again, Edelman might be healthy by the start of the year, but if they were to miss him, it would be, they already might be with Edelman in the bottom 5 as far as talent in the receiver room. Without Edelman, what do you become? You instantly become, without question, the least accomplished group of pass catchers anyone has in the entire NFL.
What did you say about the receiving corps last year, a year ago at this time?
We had major questions about it.
How did the Patriots do last year?
Well, they won the Super Bowl.
Okay, my point is, the whole thing we talk about with the Patriots is next man up. Shouldn't we have, even though, Brady's turning, 42?
This is the thing, Jimmy,
No, I know
great.
not.
But I don't know the next guy.
But isn't that the sort of the point, that it's the system over the individual guys? Isn't that what we've been talking about?
It is to a degree, and then you're in overtime against the Chiefs, and on 3 straight third downs, you go to Rob Gronkowski. And then you need a huge play in the Super Bowl, and you go to Rob Gronkowski. I don't think anyone at the table would be saying, well, if Edelman missed the season, Patriots 6-10, here we come. But you do need reliable people in the biggest of spots. And you can't just, you can't all of a sudden just start cutting off body parts and say the guy's always going to be okay. Eventually, you're not. And so, no, I wouldn't be writing them off, and I'm not writing them off.
There's a reason why people had plenty of doubts about them the first 2 months of the season. There's plenty of doubts about them going to Kansas City. The reason why, because they're not that explosive. So, yes, I can sit here and explain the system. Everyone knows that. They've been doing it for 20 years. But who's going to be the next guy? And to me, I think it's important that I give a sense of concern to the public. I started off by saying there's no coach I believe in more than Bill Belichick, and I'm concerned. I'm a Patriots fan. I like Kraft. I like the way they do things. I'm concerned. I think football fans should know that.
All right, let's move on to Odell Beckham now. In a GQ cover story that came out yesterday, Beckham revealed, among other things, that he had grown so unhappy with football while with the New York Giants that he considered retirement 2 years ago. He also talked about his emotional state upon hearing he'd been traded to Cleveland, saying, I felt disrespected. Like, after everything I've done for them, this is me being honest. This team has not been good for the last 6 years. I felt disrespected because I felt like I was a main reason at keeping that brand alive. They were getting primetime games still as a 5-11 team. Why? Because people want to see the show. You want to see me play. Cris, what was your reaction to what Odell had to say?
When you're 5-11, there ain't a whole bunch of a show. All right? When you're not a good football team, maybe some other leagues and everything, you go to Major League Baseball, no matter what the Angels do, I'm going to see Mike Trout. That's not the case in the NFL. People want to go see a winner. There's a reason why Larry Fitzgerald, for a number of years, why he not complained about the organization, complained about not winning in Arizona. There's two different leagues. There's a league everyone plays in, and there's the one that the winners play in. And those are the ones you can't, just because you're in prime time, think that you're responsible for that. Odell, just get a grip on yourself. This is the New York Football Giants. They have earned a reputation through how they have put year after year, 10 years, in 10-year increments, they're going to put a good team on the field. How they treat their players, all right? That's all a part of the New York Football Giants brand, not you. They haven't won since you've been there. You ain't won no playoff game there. What did you do for the Giants? You didn't enhance the brand for the Giants. And to think that you did, no, come on, Odell. Like, there's a level of immaturity in his statements that I would have thought at this point he would have been beyond. He left himself because of his conduct. That's why they traded him. He was responsible for them trading him. Him with his wandering eye, saying certain things about the New York Giants. Are you happy with the Giants? You signed a contract extension. I don't know. Those are the types of things that get you traded. So you should assume some of the responsibility for you not being with the New York Football Giants, and you talk behind the scenes of you not being with the Giants. You wanting to play with the Rams. You wanting to go New England. Yeah, we had those discussions. Yeah, you told me. And then they traded you. Now you're upset when you were talking about getting traded before? Come on, Odell, make up your mind.
I was surprised by parts of this interview, just like I was surprised by, because I'd had similar conversations when right after Odell got traded and I reached out to him, he didn't seem happy. He didn't immediately seem like relieved or happy. And it was surprising because you had told me at the Super Bowl that he said, I think they're going to trade me. So he seemed emotionally prepared for it. And we knew a year prior that he had been, much like how Kevin Durant's been described, he's a bit of a seeker, looking for what's next, looking for, is the grass greener there? And I understand the frustration of playing with the Giants and feeling like, man, I'm the most talented guy on the team, and as Bill James says, bad teams have a bad habit of blaming their best players for their biggest problems. I'm sure Odell felt some of that. Now, some of those problems were of his doing, but on the field, no one can question his production. I understand he had a bad playoff game, and he admits in that article he had a really bad playoff game. He's not the biggest reason they lost that playoff game, but he certainly could have helped. But aside from that individual moment, he's been exemplary on the field as far as his production. You can say the conduct on the sideline, the celebrations, whatever it is, but these are two different buckets. And what Odell, even at this age, doesn't seem to fully click in for him is that sometimes, even if you think you're being honest, there is no win in the honesty. Maybe there should be, but there isn't. We talked about with the Eli Manning comments. When is Eli part of the problem, or is Eli part of the future? Whatever it was, I remember his answer. I don't know. And that was...
You can be honest when you're in business for yourself, but you're in team sports. You made a choice to be in team sports. And when you're in team sports, you have to say certain things. So, no, being honest is not the right thing.
Well, and in this, he didn't do anything that undercut his current team, but he did do, in talking about the Giants, he asked, because he's not a dumb guy, that this is going to be the takeaway for so many people from the article. In this interview, he had, I thought, some incredibly evolved and really smart comments when he was asked about his sexuality in a way that I've never heard a pro football player talk, an active superstar pro football player. But those are going to be lost in the wash because he took shots at the Giants. He took shots at his former team. And it's just not in his interest. The best interest for him, even if you do have things you want to say, is to say, honestly, what happened to the Giants happened there. Yes. Had some good times, had some bad times. I'm so excited for this era in Cleveland. Just to remove that from the discussion. He does not, for all his good traits, he does not seem to have the capability at this point to bite his tongue even when it would help him. And that, listen, if you're going to, it's anyone's right to live the way they want, but he's got to know that is then going to cause this type of discussion, which I think he wants to avoid.
Right. I think what he wants is a clean, fresh start. football-wise and otherwise. And every time you take a step backwards into your former self, where you used to be, where you had issues, I think that, you're one step back from where you want to be. All right, let's take a break. Coming up, will Zeke and the Cowboys get a deal done before training camp starts? That is still ahead on First Things First. Back here, First Things First, we're joined by Hall of Famer, two-time champ, Isaiah
Two-time
Thomas.
champ.
Knows a thing
Put
or
some
two about
respect on it.
basketball.
What up, Zeke?
Oh, don't
How are you doing?
Oh, he got some knowledge.
That is
he knows the real
okay,
Isaiah
okay,
Thomas
okay.
now.
Man.
Yeah,
Check his head-to-head record against Michael or Bird or any of them fools, man. Zeke's in the building.
You know what this is?
Let me hear.
Anytime Nick acts up, we're going to bring Isaiah in to correct him.
Calm him down a little bit. Put him back in his
Isaiah and I
place.
had some nice talks yesterday, on and off the air. Made me reevaluate some of the things I'm trying to put together.
Oh, I love
And that's Isaiah threatening you, man. The worst part is if his brothers threaten you and his mama, who's toting the gun.
Yeah, she believed in the Second Amendment.
All right, on that note, let's talk some Zion Williamson. Zeke, we haven't seen much of the #1 overall pick since the draft. He played just 9 minutes of summer league before exiting with a knee injury. Now, according to reports, Zion has withdrawn from the USA select team, stating he is focused on being fully integrated with the New Orleans Pelicans. All right, Isaiah, what are your expectations for Zion this year?
Well, my expectations are high, like everyone else's, because you watched him perform in college and you saw the athleticism and the unbelievable, just wow factor that he brings in. My concern is, though, right now, is that he won't have played competitive basketball since March. And most rookies don't come into the NBA or the NFL or Major League Baseball and dominate, okay? And I'll throw hockey in there also. So if you're talking about coming in and playing at a very high level and you haven't played competitively since March, and you're going to show up in October or November and go against, the men, I'm a little concerned. I got some concerns about that.
Isaiah, take me back, because there have been a lot of people comparing Charles Barkley to Zion. And I can understand why, the height, the position, the explosion, things like that. But can you take me back to Charles Barkley, Olympic team?
Yes.
Bobby Knight.
Yeah.
Out of shape.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Who is Zion if he gets in shape and his potential higher than what Charles Barkley?
I don't know if his potential is higher than Charles Barkley. He may be able to equal Charles Barkley.
Charles was that good.
In shape, yes. Now, Charles out of shape was that good also. But Charles out of shape was, I believe he was coming off the bench his first season in Philadelphia.
With a really good team.
With a really good team, right? And now when Charles Barkley got in shape, he was taking the Phoenix Suns to the NBA Finals. And could have won and could have beat Jordan.
Double overtime game kind of swung that series.
And he was doing it with players who had some issues. I'll just say that. So when we look at Zion, I think right now, if he doesn't get his off the court habits correct from a nutrition and an eating standpoint, and that seems to be the issue right now in terms of weight. He didn't play. He only played, one game in the summer league.
Half a game.
Half of that.
I don't know how many games he played in college, but, he hasn't played basketball a whole lot in the last 2 years.
Well, he played 32 games in college.
Okay.
And so you've got, since high school graduation, against high-level competition, he would have played 32 games plus half of a summer league game, which speaks to your concern. And so let's talk about the weight and the nutrition, because you always say I don't listen to you, but I do. And this has been your concern with Zion since we were marveling at him at Duke, which is, what is his ideal playing weight? Will he be able to stay at that ideal playing weight? And people joke about it, but being a rich kid living in New Orleans, that's a hell of a situation in order to be able to monitor your diet. Maybe the best food city in America. He's got more dispensable income that he's ever had in his life. So these are concerns. And in that little bit of time we saw him at Summer League, he did look bigger than he looked at Duke. he did look like he had put on some weight. Now, he was still explosive. I think his first 4 baskets in that game were dunks. We still saw...
Nick, we are in the NBA, right? In college, you get that freshman 15. Well, in the NBA, you get that rookie 15.
Because of the money and because
of the
access?
food and you gained some weight that first
So you two as Hall of Fame athletes, albeit in different sports, but Cris obviously played basketball at a super high level before turning football exclusively. Let's just say his rookie year, he doesn't get to the ideal weight. You know what I mean? That he is playing above what he should. Is the biggest concern about not being as explosive as he otherwise would be? Is it about injury? Is it about ability to play the number of minutes and number of games over? He never played, I just mentioned 32 games was his most NBA games, an 82-game season. You don't load manage rookies. Like, what are the concerns if he doesn't get to that ideal weight?
What younger athletes miss and my concern about Zion is, what is Zion at his best? And his weight's going to be down when he's at his best. It's not that I doubt his ability. I'm just trying to say what's going to make him the absolute best. And what people miss out on, great conditioning. When you have great conditioning as your foundation, when I go to the gym or go to the field, all I'm working on, what's the offense, what's the defense, and my fundamentals. I'm working on the game. The hardest thing to work on in pro sports is working on conditioning while you're trying to learn the game. Because he's going to get taken to school. Like, they did not teach him at Duke what they're going to do in the NBA. Zeke will tell you this, even at Bobby Knight. Bobby Knight could not teach him what he needed to know as a point guard going into the NBA. And it's hard to learn with your brain moving like that and you don't have the cardio to be able to relax yourself. So for me, I try to emphasize this helps you learn better. It helps you learn faster. And then we know it cuts down on injury. So you're going to miss less time on the court. So for me, it's fairly practical of why you should be, why elite athletes should be in great shape.
That comes with the territory. I mean, in terms of being in great shape. And Vince Lombardi had the greatest quote when he said, "Fatigue will make a coward out of men."
Yes.
Because if you're not physically ready to play in terms of your stamina, and we know this from competing, all of us show up at the arena with basically the same skill level, basically the same talent. But those last 4 to 5 minutes, the guys who are in shape can concentrate longer, and they can play at a higher level because they're not as fatigued. So all those things that don't show up on the stat sheet, when you and I are playing against each other, you know, those last 4 minutes of the game,
right?
I'm measuring your wind.
Yes.
Like if I hear you breathing
yes,
a little hard, it's like
I'm watching. Is he grabbing his short?
Yeah. Oh, you tired?
In a timeout, is he gasping for air?
Oh, so I'm gonna make another sprint, and I'm gonna sprint really hard because I know those last 2 minutes you gonna be dead.
Wait,
and the last component too, Jenna, is where you do a great job. If you eat better, you can work harder.
Yes.
You can push your body even further, and you can find out what's in here. Because you can't do that when you don't have great conditioning and you don't have a great eating program.
And we all know this. But are the Pelicans sitting him down? Nick saying this to him?
Of course.
No. So this is going to happen.
And that's, by the way, one of the reasons why I don't want to take him not playing with Team USA as a negative. It might be that the Pelicans have said, listen, you can do it if you want, but we'd like to get you on your regiment with us in the building, our guy with you at home every single day starting right now. So I don't think it's because he doesn't want to play ball. I think it's because the Pelicans have a plan for him. I trust David Griffin, Swin Cash, the people in charge.
Yeah.
They're going to give him the book.
Right.
And he's going to have a choice to either treat it like Jenna, treat it like Isaiah Hall of Famer, treat it like Nick Wright. Just put the butt down.
See, now
or I know better.
But you got to do all that and play.
Yeah.
At the same time.
Yeah, you got to play. You got to work on your skill.
We got to take a quick break. Stick around, Isaiah. Coming up, will Kawhi win a title in L.A. before LeBron does? That's next on First
You know what
Things
that
First.
stamina allowed Zeke to do? 25, fourth quarter, sprained ankle, like nothing else. That's why he's one of the all-time greats right here.
I was mad, too.
Back here, First Things First with Isaiah Thomas. Time for Going Viral, sponsored by Best Western Hotels and Resorts. Check out Ben Simmons in the gym working on the jump shot. Chris Carter's dream.
Y'all count the jump shots. Y'all count them.
That was
two.
two.
Okay, go ahead.
You said it's what you wanted to see.
I shot more yesterday, and it was thunderstorming.
Okay. Baby steps, man. You said you want to see video of him shooting jump shots.
I want to see him working out. I don't want him to see him playing against some bums.
Hey, Tristan Thompson's out there. There's some other NBA guys.
Oh, Tristan Thompson's going to help him with his shot.
No, I'm just saying.
A guy who changed the shooting from right to left.
Hold on. Now you're changing the rules on me. You said playing against some people. Zeke, will Ben Simmons ever have a jump shot?
It depends on who's teaching them how to shoot. I mean, you can learn how to shoot, and your form doesn't necessarily have to be the greatest. I mean, one of the greatest shooters ever was Reggie Miller, and everyone was always trying to fix his elbow, right? And they always wanted him to move it in, so forth and so on, and he was like, no, I'm good. Cheryl taught me how to shoot, right? So I'm good. I think with repetition, work ethic.
Don't it say 10,000 reps to be an expert?
That's what it takes.
Yeah, you got 10,000 reps. You got to do that by yourself. You're not going to get it on the court.
Yeah. So
this dude is so wrong.
I'm not wrong. I'm just saying. What do you mean?
Well,
how can I be wrong? I'm just asking questions.
He's in his 4th year, and can he shoot?
What?
I would say his numbers are right, but his methodology and criteria in terms of research sometimes.
Oh, we're talking about me now? I thought we were talking about my guy.
That's my guy.
Moving out west for the first time in a long time, if ever. We'll have an actual, real-life, totally legit NBA rivalry between the two Los Angeles teams. Winner gets the Staples Center bragging rights and perhaps the Western Conference. When asked about the rivalry with the Clippers, new Lakers guard Quinn Cook said, having two dominant teams in L.A. is so much fun. Isaiah, it's a simple question. Which L.A. team is better set up to make a title run this season, the Lakers or the Clippers?
I'm going to say the Clippers. And the reason why I think they're set up more to make the NBA Finals run is because they have the defensive mindset. And then they got one of the genius coaches sitting on the bench. If not, we say Popovich is the best coach in the NBA. Then if Popovich is the best, then Doc Rivers is the second best in terms of what he's able to do, how he's able to create, and defensively the mindset that he'll bring to that team. When you're looking at Patrick Beverley, Leonard, George out on the perimeter, you arguably have the three best defensive players in the game on the perimeter in those three. And with Doc's mindset and the way he will bring that team together, what we saw them do last year, I think they are set up to win. And then when you talk about a rivalry, I mean, Patrick Beverley's going to start the rivalry, right? You got two Chicago guys, Doc Rivers and Patrick Beverley. They are going to pick a fight with the Lakers, and they want the fight. And then you got two straight killers in terms of George and Leonard, who quietly just go out and take care of business.
Are the teams close enough that if you flip-flopped Rivers and Vogel, it would change your opinion?
Yes.
So a lot of this is about one of the reasons we thought one of the best arguments the Clippers had in getting Kawhi was not just front office, not just ownership, not just the lack of the ram-by running things, but who's sitting on your bench. You got one guy in Doc Rivers who you're saying is maybe the second best coach in the game. He's already won a championship. He's gone on multiple deep playoff runs, came this close to winning a second championship, Game 7 finals with a lead against Kobe and Powell and the Lakers. And then on the other end, you have a guy who, even if Frank Vogel can have a much better third act of his coaching career than second act, he was the Lakers' fourth choice. We know that. Like, that is not speculation. We know that they went down a list of candidates. They got rejected at the altar by Ty Lue and then settled on Frank Vogel. So that, to me, is a totally fair question. I do think when we talk defense, we are underrating to a degree what an Anthony Davis anchored defense can be with the right people around. We've seen Anthony Davis play Defensive Player of the Year level defense on mediocre teams. On a good team, on a team where, and I know everyone loves the viral video of LeBron being pushed out on the perimeter, we know year after year that in the postseason, LeBron is a plus defender. And that's what we're talking about here is what will they be in the postseason, or at least part of what we're talking about, plus Anthony Davis protecting the rim. I don't think the Lakers are going to be a woebegone defensive team, but the Clippers should be the best defensive team in the conference, and they in Philly should jostle for the best defensive team in the entire league.
If Jenna was coaching the Clippers, they would be the best defensive team.
Yeah.
Doc Rivers, you know, through your head-to-head, you know how Doc is as a person.
Yeah.
Patrick Beverley, Paul George, and Kawhi, they're all self-starters. You see how Nick went over the 82-game schedule. Oh, but LeBron going to play defense in 82 games.
Yeah.
Oh, really? After we get to the playoff. That's one of the big differences is the mindset of these teams. The Lakers already have a mindset. You said it. We're going to play some defense when we get to the playoffs. Well, in the Western Conference, if you're the number 3 seed, you're the number 4 seed, it's going to be tough sledding. So for me, the mentality to go through the 82-game schedule, Doc has had success against LeBron James. Kawhi has had success. Paul George has had success. And Patrick Beverley, on the night that the Kawhi thing went down, you could see in Vegas. He went up to him and looked right at him, shook him up and said, oh, it's going to be on.
Yes.
And I followed him on Twitter.
Yes.
And you could see he had a little comment, how much fun it's going to be. So to me, we can blame it on Vogel. Because if Vogel, because he's a defensive specialist too, if he was coaching the Clippers, we would say, you know something? They're going to be one of the better defenders too.
No matter what.
So it's not just a Doc Rivers advantage. It's the mentality that team is going to have, Zeke, when they take the court. I believe that helps them get a better seed. And those seedings is going to be so important as we get into the end of March next
Regardless of which of those teams are better, as a former player, how much do you think current players are looking forward to going into a season for the first time in a long time without a super team, where everyone's got a shot? Last year we talked about, okay, so it'll be the Warriors this year, but then after that, we'll see what KD does. Now it seems like because of the decision Kawhi made, it's an open competition. Yeah, these two teams in LA are great, but it's a little bit more. Is that something more players will be looking forward to?
I think it's something that players are looking forward to, and it's going to put a lot of pressure on the players now because now there's no excuse, right?
Yes.
It's like the last couple of years, a lot of the players.
The regular season wasn't that important.
Yeah, and they just conceded. Oh, well,
Right.
So I'm just going to get my money, I'm going to get paid, I'm going to have a lifestyle. So I don't have to compete to be the best because this team is supposed to be better than me. But now everyone has a chance, so that means everyone has to raise their game. And I'm going to go back to your point about Doc Rivers because he brings the intangible to me. And the intangibles is, can that coach reach inside your heart and pull something out of you, right? And make you do some things that you didn't believe that you can possibly do.
Oh, man, that's a great point.
And Doc Rivers does, that's what Buddy Ryan was good at, right? Buddy would make that defense think that they could do things that they didn't normally would do. And as an athlete, we all are self-starters at the great level. But then you need to be pushed just a little harder to get that something extra out of you that you didn't think that you had or you knew that you had, right? And Doc Rivers, to me, has shown that he can do that. I think he'll be able to coach those guys hard, and I think they'll respect him. I don't know that about Frank yet.
We don't get to talk basketball with you every day, so I want to ask you about something about LeBron because all of this is a moot point if LeBron is not 27, 7-7, the guy we've seen over the last 15 years. That is just assuming, just baking in, he's going to have the best year 17 any player has ever had. There's only been 3 guys year 17 or later even averaged 20 points. Only 8 guys have averaged 15 points. He is, by the end of this season, probably going to have played 60,000 minutes. The only people who reach that threshold are Kareem and Karl Malone. Do you think we are still going to get in year 17, is it realistic, that level of LeBron James, at least by the end of the season during the playoff?
So real talk, right? LeBron James is good enough to get 27, 7-7, right? Now, he can go out and he can cheat the game and get those numbers, right? If LeBron James is just playing for the numbers, he'll get it every night. Now, if LeBron James is playing to win, right, he may not get 27, 7-7. He may end up getting 25 and 5, right? But because we judge so much on the numbers, we'll say, well, he's had a bad year, but he's been a better teammate, right? He's helped his team win more. Now, those 5 boxes that we only measure people by now, he can max out in those 5 boxes, and his teammates hate him and don't want to play with him, right? But he'll be good in those 5 boxes. If those numbers drop a little bit, he may win more and could possibly...
Right, if he defers to AD a little more.
Yeah, he could possibly be better as a player, but those numbers don't tell you that.
All right, Isaiah, thanks for joining us today.
Thank
Always
you.
love
Great job,
good stories,
Thank
great
you.
insights. All right, take a break. Coming up, talk some football. Why did Odell consider walking away from football? That's next on First Things First. Welcome back to the show. We are now joined by former Pro Bowl linebacker and
What up, man?
all-around
What it do?
funny guy.
This
Bart.
was like the
That's
3 to
Scott.
11 shifted.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Tell you what, man, the weather out there ain't good on the juice and berries. Man,
It's
that
so good
activator
on the
running
juice
down
and
my
the
eyes.
berries, Bart. Look at you.
Man,
It's what now?
It's so terrible when I say it.
Yep.
You guys say it, but when I talk juice and berries,
you all
It
go with the
is.
juice and berries.
You're going to make me choke, Jenna.
what
Let's
did I
just
do?
talk.
Anyway, let's talk some Odell in a
Let's
little
do
bit.
this.
First, you got some Twins and Yankees. You got Luis Ariz tagging third base on the grounder from Edwin and Encarnacion. Fires to second to start the 5-4-3
I messed it up,
triple
too.
play.
I tell you what, man, CeCe was serving them meatballs yesterday, man. That was a great offensive game. It was good for baseball.
Cleveland, Toronto, Jason Kipnis with an incredible leaping catch, and that ends the ball game.
Oh, look at that.
Those false
snow
steps
cone
from
that-
the second baseman there. That's the only reason why he gets there, Nick.
One false
he
step
was
and it
off-
drops a little
Oh,
bloop
man,
single.
absolutely. Typically, you'd make that little false step forward. No.
Here we go, Drew League action. UCLA Bruin, Sharif O'Neal.
Welcome back, baby.
Nasty reverse dunk.
This is one of the things I miss the most about my brief time in L.A. was just being able to, during the summer, roll over to the Drew League and watch some great basketball.
It's so
you didn't
good
know
to
who was
see
going
him
to show
back,
up.
man, after the surgery.
Absolutely.
Crazy. What about Hollywood Hills?
Well, you live in the Hollywood Hills. I did not. I just come and hang out with you.
Nick lived on a mattress. Bart, let's talk some Odell. In a GQ cover story that came out yesterday, Beckham revealed, among other things, that he had grown so unhappy with football while with the New York Giants that he considered retirement 2 seasons ago. He also talked about his emotional state upon hearing he'd been traded to Cleveland, saying, "I felt disrespected, like after everything I've done for them, this is me being honest, this team has not been good for the last 6 years. I felt disrespected because I felt like I was a main reason to keeping that brand alive. They were getting primetime games still as a 5-11 team. Why? Because people want to see the show. You want to see me play."
Trizzle.
Bart, Trizzle, what was your reaction to that?
I mean, I can understand what he's saying. I understand that the Giants is a brand, but Odell Beckham is a star, and people want to see the stars. Everybody gets a Monday night football game, maybe a Sunday night football game. When you talk about the extra games, you know, the games where you wonder, like, why are we watching the Giants? It's because Odell Beckham could always do something special. The same reason why people are going to tune in now to watch Saquon Barkley, because he's one of those talents that brings in the casual fan. Now, being disrespected is the fact that, you know, they lied to him. And it wasn't Odell's fault that he's not with the Cleveland Browns. It's Eli Manning's. It's Gettleman's. I'm sorry, with the Giants. It's Gettleman. It's Shermer. It's the offensive line. It's the defensive line. Because when you pay a receiver $95 million, you do that as a finishing piece, a finishing move, saying that, hey, we're not far away. You take a running back number 2 overall because you feel like we're close. Now, they started off 1-7. That let them know that they wasn't close. So now really what happens is Odell's timeline, as far as his prime, doesn't match up when the Giants are going to be relevant anymore. That's why you get rid of Landon Collins. That's why you get rid of Olivier Vernon, because they're admitting that they're rebuilding and reloading. So you had to get Odell out of there, you know, because Eli Manning, even on a bad year, he had over 1,000 yards receiving. So he's done everything right, but they didn't put the pieces around him to support him. And Eli Manning they should have moved on from Eli Manning a couple years ago.
You know, the respect thing is difficult because it's always hard to justify what a person thinks is disrespectful.
Yeah.
Like you go into a restaurant, someone says something, someone's like, that's disrespectful. It depends on measure that person thinks disrespect. To me, Odell was hurt. All right? Girl dropped him right before the prom. He was hurt. So now he's going back over the revisionist history as if, remember when I took you out to dinner? Remember when I did this? Remember when I did? Well, the New York Football Giants, they won a number of titles without you.
Right.
You didn't bring a title there. Now, Michael Strahan, that last year, man, if they would have traded him, that would have been disrespectful. Eli Manning, if they were awful during the regular season, they went on that playoff run, if they would have traded him, that would have been disrespectful. But Odell showed the ownership that this guy, I can't trust him, And Odell did some things that the Giants ownership thought was disrespectful. That's why they were open. Gettleman, from the time he came to New York, he has never been in love with OBJ. He's not the type of person he would have on his roster. No. When he was in Carolina, he'll say that he was all for Cam Newton getting an extension, but I talked to some people behind the scenes. No, he wasn't. Josh Norman was not getting an extension with the Carolina Panthers.
Shipped out Steve Smith, right?
Steve Smith ended his career
there
with Carolina. He wanted to retire as a Carolina Panther. They were not going to give Steve any more money, and there was some struggle inside the organization. So with Odell, he let the door be open because he disrespected the ownership. The ownership was going through, how many press conferences did they had to have? Well, I talked to Odell.
Yeah.
I talked to him. I talked to him, and he said everything's going to be okay. When you're in pro sports, man, there's an obligation to live up to that leadership for what they gave him. So, to me, Odell was guilty, and then the Giants and Gettleman, once they hired Gettleman, he wasn't going to be a New York Giant, and Odell knew that, and we've talked about it.
Go ahead.
No, but see, like, Odell's the only proven commodity here, right? Gettleman's not proven. Shermer's not proven. Odell's putting up numbers every day. Right? Gettleman hasn't been the best general manager, and he's on the clock. We're trying to figure out if he's going to even be here. If this Daniel Jones thing doesn't match up, because he sold us that this team was ready to win. This team was ready to win.
So here's the thing.
LT was a distraction too every day of the week.
All of these things can be true, and this is the struggle for Odell and for the Giants. Is both parties, if they were being honest with themselves, would recognize that you hope to once every 10 years draft a guy at that spot like Odell. And if you're a receiver, you hope that maybe I can go to a glam franchise in a huge market when I can be a star. Like, it's synced up. And they are both in different ways to blame for the reason that it went bad at the end. Odell can say to himself or to me or to Cris, anyone, man, what more could I do? Look at my numbers. Look at my production. Look at what my teammates say about me. And all that can be true. And the Giants can say, well, what more could we have done? We gave him his money. We let him, when he said he was injured, we didn't rush him back. We did all these things. Okay, both those things are true. What's also true is what Odell could have done is have more awareness of the weight his words carry and know when he sat down for that interview with Josina Anderson and a high out his mind Lil Wayne, she's going to ask me about Eli. What should my answer be? She's going to ask me, am I happy in New York? What should my answer be? And what the Giants could have done is recognize, listen, we have made a decision for one reason or another to be endlessly loyal to Eli Manning. That puts more of an imposition of everyone on our roster, on Odell, on our star receiver. So maybe we need to massage this better than we did. And Gettleman and Shermer maybe should have been more honest with Odell. All parties are to blame for Odell now being in Cleveland. The problem is nobody wants to take any of the blame. Odell, as much as I like him personally, has not said, I should have done this better. And aside from I should have played better in the playoff game. And he should. And the Giants shouldn't have come out and lied and said we didn't sign him to trade him. And they shouldn't be lying to their fans acting like, no, Eli's still a great quarterback, but by the way, we drafted this Daniel Jones kid. No one's telling the truth here.
Right.
And so, that's how you get to this spot.
And, Cece, you know the Mara family pretty well. And you know that they have, much like the Steinbrenners had with the Yankees, they had a certain level of expectation on that team. And when you get called into the principal's office, if you called into John Mara's office and he sits down and he says, we expect you to maybe not do some of the antics or some of the, it's just sort of, we have a different level of expectation here. It's a standard that I think there's a little bit of that on top of his words, on top of him speaking maybe out of turn about what he thought about the organization. So I think there is some fault that you can lay at the heels of Odell.
But see, when you talk about like Odell and as far as his distractions, was it more distracting? I know I'm not putting him in the same breath as LT.
Please
but
don't.
nothing he did was a fireable offense in my opinion. Now we've all been fired. Now you're a great player, so you probably decided to walk away. But I got fired too, and I got fired by Isaac, somebody that didn't know me. Like the fact that, listen, it's a business. I understand you have to move on sometimes, but it's sometimes how you do it. And I will feel disrespected too if a coach that was only there for 1 year that really I didn't mesh with sent me a text. Don't even bother, bro, because don't act like you didn't know that I was getting out of there, that you guys had traded me. It's ways about doing things. It's a way about being a man. If you feel like you need to move on from me, call my agent, tell me face to face. But a lot of these guys are being cowards. Don't tweet me like we some fling we had before and break up with me over Twitter. That's what new people do. You're supposed to be from the old school, be a professional, be a man.
Well, I don't expect the general manager to have the same type of the thing that we have. I don't expect him to be tough. I don't expect the coach to eyeball me.
But this is about being professional,
and this is the thing. Well, this is the thing, too. The New York football Giants, they know they made a mistake with LT, man. They know they made a mistake. As good as he was, they know they made a mistake because they didn't help him. And they were not going to allow another star to potentially alter their career or hold the organization hostage. So they felt responsible. If he's not going to do what we asked him to do, and then you mentioned it earlier, their window to win is not open right now. It was in their best interest to trade him. Odell should be happy today. That interview should have been about being happy because he's in a better spot, and his best football is yet to be played.
All right, Bart, stick around. Take a break. Coming up, are the Dallas Cowboys playoff hopes doomed if they can't get a deal done with Zeke? Next on First Things First. On Saturday, we got a great MLB doubleheader for you. First, Aaron Judge powers the Pinstripes against Mookie Betts and the Red Sox. Then the Astros take on the Cardinals. All starts at 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific on FS1 and on the Fox Sports app. Back here with Bart Scott. Time for us to go viral, sponsored by Best Western Hotels and Resorts. The Eagles are bringing Darren Sproles back on a one-year deal, which prompted them to dig up this throwback video of a young Sproles tearing up defenses back in Pop Warner. Look at him.
Man, so Darren Sproles from my hometown area and my exact age, and I remember being a little kid and hearing about this tiny guy over across state lines in Kansas that was just killing people. And then in high school, his high school highlight film might be even better than that. He has been just running past people and juking people as the littlest guy on the field since, as you can see, since he was 5 years old.
I have a criteria when I watch these little highlights and everything. I want to see how many black people they running past.
He was in Kansas, right?
He was in your neighborhood. He was running past a bunch of white kids. Number 43.
Mom, I like that invisible juice on.
He was unbelievable.
My brother used to tell me that. You think you're good? Wait till you get outside of Middletown. They got something for you.
All right, some stories to start your morning now. Some bad news for an already depleted Patriots receiving corps. Julian Edelman will reportedly miss multiple weeks of training camp with a thumb injury. CC, what would the Patriots receiving corps look like without Julian Edelman?
Jenna, I don't even know. I always joke about it's going to be very, very vanilla, but I don't know who they're going to put out there. They're going to run the ball. They're going to run the ball 55 times the first 2 weeks of the season.
They'll lose the first two. They'll lose two games in the first month, and then they'll go on a run like 11 straight.
All right, some tough news for Melvin Gordon as he looks for a new deal. Reports that he and the Chargers are far apart on an extension. Nick, you think they get the deal done soon?
Nah, not unless the Chargers are going to stop being the Chargers. I mean, listen, that Spanos family isn't into giving out money even to people they draft first round, first contract. Nah, you got to.
Melvin don't deserve it, though. He ain't been healthy. And he just saw what happened to Ty Gurley.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if he doesn't
I said it. Keep it real.
I think he's going to cost himself some money. If
went over 1,000 one time.
Them Wisconsin running backs, man, you can't depend on them besides James White as receiver out of the backfield.
That's a good point.
They don't have great pro careers.
Wisconsin.
Yeah. Eat that, Ron Dane.
Cowboys
No, Ron Dane did eat something. That's why he ain't playing football.
Yeah, that's a good point.
He was the football version of Zion.
Okay. Cowboys training camp just a week away, and there's still some questions looming, namely, will Ezekiel Elliott be there? According to reports, he doesn't actually know yet. The fourth-year running back with 2 years left on his deal has yet to decide if he will be a holdout. Bart, how important is it for the Cowboys to get a deal done with Zeke?
I mean, it's extremely important, but it all depends on what type of professional Ezekiel is. If he's looking at Le'Veon Bell, and Le'Veon Bell is trying to start a new trend about guys sitting out, resting their bodies, and trying to force their way out, then it can be a problem for the Dallas Cowboys because they're in this small window before they have to play a lot of players in their prime. But you also are setting the precedent when you talk about, you know, a player with 2 years left on his deal, a running back, you want to buy into Ezekiel Elliott right now in the middle of his career. We will hope to think that maybe he has 9 years in him, good. if you buy 9, then you're going to pay him for what he did at the beginning of his career, not what you're going to get at the end, because he's going to have to eventually start splitting time. They should have drafted another running back that they can depend on in the future. But he's important for their offense. He accounted last year for 36% of their offense. He allows the play action for Dak Prescott, who's not a great pocket quarterback, but he's not quite the mobile quarterback that we think of. We think, under 6 feet, black guy, should be athletic, should be Russell Wilson, be able to get time out of the pocket. He's not one of these guys that's going to make guys miss. So they need Ezekiel Elliott so that he can make sure that he can grab the safeties, grab the linebackers, and create open windows for Dak, who's not the tallest quarterback in the pocket to begin with.
Well, and here's where the Cowboys are also boxed in, at least to a degree. They've already set this precedent. They'll pay guys with 2 years left. There's Tyron Smith got paid with 2 years left on his deal.
Running back, though.
I understand he's a running back, but I am saying first-round pick, high achiever, all-pro, check, check, check. And they've paid guys this early before. Now, they got Tyron on an incredible bargain where it was basically team option after team option, a deal he maybe regrets that he signed. But it's not, they can't say what certain teams can say, which is, Pittsburgh Steelers, these are the types of contracts we sign. We've always done it. So why would you think you're different? So the precedent's already been set in that regard for one player at least. And then he also has leverage in this regard. The point you made to me is the most important one. This is such a wildly important year for Dallas because the team gets so much more expensive after this year that all of a sudden you're going to have to start cutting talent. You're not going to be able to keep all of those all-pro offensive linemen. I know they're all under contract, but this is a hard cap league. Like, when Dak gets paid, Amari gets paid, we think Byron Jones is going to get paid. All those guys with just 1 year left on their deal. Zeke also, if he doesn't get paid now, would certainly get paid a year from now. So they know the importance of this season, and I don't think anyone thinks Zeke's going to sit out a whole season. But if he sits out the first 2 games, when you're going to be favored against the Giants, favored against Washington, and instead of being 2-0, you're 0-2, that can decide your season.
Didn't Emmitt Smith do that?
He did. They went 0-2. They ended up winning the Super Bowl, but that team went 15-2 the rest of the way. That team also had Hall of Famers everywhere. It was an all-time great team coming off a Super Bowl. This Cowboys team, I don't think, can say, well, we survived that Emmett holdout. By the way, he got paid.
Yeah.
He held out for 2 weeks. They went 0-2, got paid. They were able to overcome it. I don't think that's realistic for the Cowboys.
The other problem is Jerry Jones talks a lot, and Stephen Jones talks a little bit, and they've made these sort of loose promises, both that they love Zeke and they love Dak and they love Amari Cooper and they want everyone to get paid, and Dak's been talking, and they've sort of backed themselves into a little bit of a corner with what they're going to do before the season starts. But doesn't the team have a little bit of leverage just because of some of the off-the-field issues and whatnot that Zeke has gotten himself into, maybe enough that it could carry them at least for another year before they pay him?
You can never think in sports the team don't have leverage, because it might not be the smart thing to do, but the team can do something idiotic. We've seen them do it all the time. So we can't act as if, the player holds all the cards. No. Dallas Cowboys are going to play football if Zeke decides not to come or not. That's how they're going to do it. And the player knows that. L. Bell, the last 2, what happened to him? They played football, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, they didn't make the playoffs, but the world didn't end. They will keep going on without you. It's important as a running back that Ezekiel Elliott, because he is the best player on that team. And if he holds out, stays firm to his stance, I'm the best player. You might love your quarterback, but I'm better than him. You might love some other guys on the defense. Byron Jones, he might need a contract. Amari, you might like, but I'm better than them. I'm the best player on the team. If Zeke keeps that as the number one thing, I believe they're going to have to pay him.
And he has the shortest shelf life, right? All these other guys can wait to get paid. They can franchise tag them because he's the one taking hits. He's going to take, 400 or 500 hits, in a season, probably a lot more than that, depending on how many touches he's picking up blitzers and all that stuff. At some point, you're going to understand that Zeke has to understand this is the most leverage he's going to have, because Jason Garrett didn't get that contract extension. So I'm sure he's in the office in the ear like, hey, I need this guy, because he's coaching for his football life as well.
Well, and when I said he has leverage, the team always has the hammer. Because, I think Zeke has the most leverage a running back with 2 years left on his deal can have, which still is not as much leverage as the team ultimately does. If he really believes, man, they're not going to pay me this year, so I'm just costing myself money. Or does he believe he can win a staring contest?
Or he can come in and say, oh, my arm. and still get that check.
Go to the back of the hamstring. They can't, no MRIs or
All right, we'll see you in a little bit. Coming up, look who's here. Giants tight end Evan Engram will join the conversation.
Juice and berries, man. That's disrespectful to my activation.
Back here, first things first. The New York Football Giants are looking for a bounce-back season, and one of the biggest keys to this team is third-year tight end Evan Engram, who is joining us now to the great delight of our own Cris Carter.
Oh, you being mean.
Hey,
oh, y'all
how are you?
Y'all missed the one I dove for. Y'all missed it.
No, we have them. We're going to run them on the loop.
Good to see you.
Welcome.
It's great to see you. We were talking earlier about what life is like for the professional athlete in the offseason. And C said you get up, you work out for like 3 hours, then you count your money, then maybe you work out again. What's the offseason been like for you?
Offseason's becoming really smooth. Rookie year was you got to find your track, kind of find a routine to get into. This off season, it was real smooth for me. Just been out in LA, working with some of my teammates, hanging out, and then this summer, the little break we get in the summer, just stayed around here, stay at the facility, and just getting ready for camp. So it's pretty smooth, a little fun, a little bit of fun.
What's
a
the
little
most fun thing you've done? The non-football stuff.
We took my teammates and I took a trip to Costa Rica, and they have this the world's longest zip lining tour.
Oh yeah.
And
nice.
when I say it was insane, it was crazy. Monkeys were under us as we're zip lining. We got big birds flying next to us. It was kind of scary, but it was fun.
Now, the first 2 years in the league, I try to tell people all the time, the experience of playing in the league is even better than what you dreamt of when you got there.
Exactly.
Your experience being here with the New York Football Giants for 2 years, going around the league, how has that prepared you for success in year number 3?
It's taught me a lot. It's taught me a lot about dealing with adversity. This media market up here is crazy. Definitely have to kind of stay focused, and it taught me that. And just the kind of the bumps and the bruises I went through, kind of learn how to take care of my body. It's just really just turned me into a professional. So definitely everything happens for a reason. And definitely want to win more games. And I wish 2 years were a little bit more better on the success level as a team. But everything happens for a reason. And the things I learned in the next 2 years, I'm really excited going into this year. Knowing what I have under my belt.
Cris says all the time that even if a player's numbers don't necessarily show it, every guy in year 3 is better as a football player than they were in year 2. Like we were talking about Dak. Dak's year 1 was unbelievable. Year 2, he comes back to the pack. And Cris was adamant going into last season. I don't care what the numbers say. He's better because he knows so much more football. When you think about your level of football sophistication, if you will, the day you get drafted out of Ole Miss to where you sit here today, how much better, not just physically, but mentally of a football player do you find yourself a couple years later?
The games have slowed down. When you come in as a rookie, everything's kind of spinning. You're trying to make your mark and find your niche in the team and trying to earn a starting job. And so there's a lot of things spinning, trying to learn a new playbook, you learn new teammates, and trying to just get comfortable. But coming into year 3, the game is more slowed down, more healthy, and opportunities to make big plays. Kind of more excited about, especially coming out. You're in the slot, you reading coverages, or you see a linebacker or a safety on either a man zone. All that stuff just kind of starts coming natural. And when the game slows down, you start playing more comfortable. That's when you can kind of get in your bag, and that's how it is going to be for me. This game just more slowed down, and it's going to be more fun.
Evan, there's some good things and there's some not so great things about playing in New York and on this stage. The great thing is this is the media capital of the world. You're in New York City. You get to have fun. The Giants are always highlighted. But the last couple of years haven't been such smooth sailing for this Giants team. You had a lot of controversy with whether Eli should still be playing. And then you draft Daniel Jones. And then Odell leaves last year, which I'm sure was a little bit of a surprise. How distracting and then the record and how you guys have been playing, I'm sure far underwhelming for the Giant standards that you usually have. What's the last couple of years been like for you? How have you been able to handle it as a player?
You kind of just gotta realize you can only control what's in your control, and I know that's doing everything I can for my team and doing the most I can to put them in better positions on Sundays and lead in the locker room and be better and be a better player for the team. So definitely a lot of distractions. You gotta kind of block all those out.
Which distraction do you think surprised you the most of everything that's happened the last couple of years? What were you most surprised
We have an ongoing debate about the media.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned it. He went to school at Ole Miss. It ain't like a treasure trove of reporters covering Ole Miss compared to the reporters that cover the Giants. So I could see him being surprised. How much of an adjustment was that coming from SEC, Ole Miss, to New York Football Giants?
I think in college, as you said, there wasn't a lot of reporters going crazy about what we were doing. But the thing that kind of had to adjust to was just everybody's so obsessed with the negativity. Obviously, I mean, you can kind of tell a difference when we're losing and there's turmoil. Those reporters come in the locker room running, sprinting, ready to ask questions, ready to stir up some drama. So it's just you just gotta kind of try to be able to neglect the things that can distract you and just stay focused on doing what you can every single day to be a better player and make your team better.
Right. There's a number of people that would say OBJ was a distraction the last couple of years. Your experience with him, I believe, is very, very different. You and him are friends not only on the field but off the field. I believe when you went to Los Angeles, you probably spent some time with OBJ, not only working out but doing other things. What did you learn from him from a football standpoint, and what did you learn after hearing about him getting traded?
I love having Odell as a teammate. He was, despite all the things in the media, he was great in the locker room. He was great as a friend. He'll always be a brother as long as we stay close. So, but the biggest thing I love being his teammate was just watching him every day. The dude's by far one of the best football players I've ever seen. And just watch him every day, whether it's just catching balls, his releases, the top of his routes, just him as a football player I had to take advantage of that. And being his teammate helped my game, and it's helping me develop, and it's helping me become a better football player. And you know, like I said, those things that happened this offseason is out of my control. At the end of the day, I'm still a New York Football Giant. I still play for the Giants, so my job is to keep working and keep being better and keep growing as a player so that can be better.
Did it make, after seeing Odell traded, because it shocked a lot of Giants, I talked to a few of them, but it also made them, their alert button went up that, man, if he got traded, anything could happen to me. Did you feel that way?
It's hard not to, yeah. It's really hard not to, especially when the business isn't going as a business should be going. There's going to be changes that are made. In this league, nobody's safe. So it's definitely, like I said, those distractions are kind of hard to keep away. But like I said, you just got to stay focused and can worry about what you can control.
What did you think of Saquon, his rookie year?
Unbelievable. I think the biggest thing with Saquon is obviously he's a special talent, and he's a crazy football player, but he's a natural leader. He's a real natural leader. As soon as he came into the locker room and got settled and got comfortable on the field, he was motivating guys. He was pushing guys. He pushed me to become better. He's pushing guys on defense.
How does a guy like that push you to be better? Take me through. Either words, example.
I would say example. I think it all comes down to competition. The more you can compete every single day, the more better you're going to be as a player when it's time to play against somebody not on your team. And that's something that he kind of brought to our team that was missing a little bit. Just having those little small competitions, whether it's sprints or whether we're in practice and team periods going against the defense. When you start getting that dog mentality and you start getting that competition, you want to win, that's going to help us on Sundays.
He also, you alluded to it, we've had him on the show a couple times. He is shockingly polished and poised for someone as young as he is. When you saw his rookie class, your rookie class was the one right before his, did not just his talent and his athleticism, but his, I'll use the word again, polished, did that strike you as almost mature beyond his years?
Definitely. I mean, obviously, he was very talented coming out of college and had a lot of expectations on him, and especially getting drafted to the Giants. I mean, there was a lot coming at him. I mean, from day one, he came in just smooth, real humble, and understood that there was a lot of work to do, and understood that that it's a process to becoming great. And so that's the biggest thing. Just his maturity coming in and his leadership skills coming in was very good to see, and it's very good for our team.
You guys drafted a quarterback this year in Daniel Jones. Tell me a little bit about the dynamic between Daniel and Eli and what their relationship is like. And have you caught any balls yet from Daniel?
Oh, yeah. Daniel has been doing a really good job. He got in OTAs and got settled and started getting comfortable and learned the system. And Eli has been a great pro that he always been. You know, some guys, they draft a young quarterback and you kind of, towards the end of your career, you might feel some type of way. You can't see that with Eli. He's doing everything he can to help Daniel, and at the end of the day, Daniel's pushing him as well, and Daniel's pushing him to be a better player. So it's been really cool to see those guys mesh and how they work together in the quarterback room. And Eli's gonna make Daniel a lot better, way better quarterback, and vice versa. So it's been cool to see both of them work together and see Daniel grow the past couple months he's been here.
What is Eli like as a teammate? We see him on the field. People can have their opinions of his level of play, but Eli is an elder statesman and is a guy who obviously has been the face of this franchise for almost 2 decades now. You're not quite young enough to be his son, but his nephew at least. Like, what is he like as a teammate for you?
Eli's one of the guys. He's definitely just a little bit more quieter, more kind of soft-spoken, but he's a jokester. He likes putting pranks on guys. He's got some really lame riddles that he tries to spit out.
Yes.
Yeah, dad jokes. So he's cool to be around. He's just one of the guys, and you would think coming in, I'm thinking like, oh, he's just always to himself, or it'd be hard to talk to. No, he's a great friend and a great teammate.
One thing I see all the time in the league is guys like yourself, they come in with a great deal of confidence because you just don't get to this level without having confidence. And then earlier in their career, they've had failure. Either, wow, they realize this game is a lot harder. This is a big jump even from the SEC to the NFL. And, man, I'm not as good. One of my issues with you, I'm going to tell you this because you're here, your mom's here. When they drafted you, I told Nick Wright, this guy's going to be a star. He's a perfect fit. NFL tight end, prototype right now. Number 1 is a receiver. Yes, he's a capable blocker at the end of the line of scrimmage, but he should catch 70, 80 balls early in his career. He might have 1,000 yards. That's not your fault. We know the Giants, their offense hadn't had the productivity. Do you believe your expectations are back on par when you got drafted after taking a couple steps of, man, this league is difficult. I got injured. It's not easy because initially, you started off to a very hot start. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Are your expectations back to where they were when you first got drafted?
I would say they're a little bit higher.
Great.
I think coming in rookie year, it kind of came easy to me because I learned the offense quick. We started making plays. We had some injuries on offense that kind of allowed me to have a bigger role in the offense, and it kind of was starting to come easy to me. So going into that rookie offseason, that first offseason, I'm like, oh, this is a breeze. I'm from to take off and do what I do. And year 2 comes around, and that adversity hit. Some injuries, a couple bad games, another injury. You start missing time, and you start forgetting, like, well, how good am I, or how good can I be? So just the way last year ended, I was healthy and started making some plays and getting involved in the offense and started playing better football as a team. So going into year 3 now, those expectations are back, I'll probably say, a lot higher than coming in as a rookie.
Give me a number, catches and yards this year. If we're at the end of the year, you've had a good year. We know the Giants, they want them to win. Say the old corporate thing, but for you personally, give me a catches, yards for you.
80, 1,200.
Okay, let's do that. We're going to write it down. I like that.
That's state. Perfect.
Awesome.
Best tight ends available in the league.
Appreciate
Gronk retired.
Go get it.
Evan, good luck this year.
Thank you so much.
All the best to you and the Giants. Thank you for listening to the First Things First podcast. Remember, leave us a review and tell us what you think. Subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts and catch us on FS1 Monday through Friday, 6:30 a.m. Eastern. For Cris Carter and Nick Wright, I'm Jenna Wolfe. So long, everybody.